This is Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Last Supper, one of his most famous works. It depicts the moment just after Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him. This painting is one of the many paintings that showcase religious and spiritual beliefs. For centuries, religion has played a crucial role in the arts. However, it's only been a few centuries since we have started placing art in museums and other public institutions, stripping it of its spiritual significance. Prior to this, the majority of what we now call as fine art was actually placed in cathedrals and other places of worship. Many artworks were commissioned by religious institutions to help people experience the artistic dimension of their faith. Paintings, in particular, served as a way to visually connect with the divine presence, an experience that couldn't be replicated through music and text. But today, art has taken on a vastly different dimension. Fine art no longer serves religious doctrines. Movements like Dada, Impressionism, Modernism, and Surrealism have transformed the purpose of art. Art is no longer confined into churches or religious institutions. Instead, our very understanding of what constitutes art has changed radically over the past century. But why has this shift occurred? How did we transition from classical forms to the art of today? Before the modern age, art was created in a much more cultic setting, where it was meant to be an object of divinity and magic. A sense of mystery and awe surrounded those artworks. They were not intended for mass consumption. Instead, they were placed in carefully controlled environments, and their interpretation and conception was strictly governed by tradition. This gave them a cult value. A cult value is rooted in ritual, where art served as an instrument of magic. These artworks stood on their own merit, requiring no justification for their existence. The general masses were denied access to these artworks. For instance, many religious icons and idols were hidden from view for most of the year, and even on rare occasions when they were displayed, only selected individuals, such as priests, were permitted to see them. The Ark of Covenant in the Temple of Solomon is a notable example. The innermost chamber, known as Holy of Holies, was only opened on a single day of the year, and even then, only the high priest was allowed to enter. In other cases, people were allowed to glimpse these objects from a distance, but their perceptions were still heavily controlled. People at that time would often go on pilgrimages to experience these sacred objects. But with time, the cult value of art was replaced by exhibition value. Whereas cult value was rooted in tradition, ritual, and mystery, exhibition value eliminated or reduced this mysterious character of the artwork. And now, the artwork is meant to be seen, not just by some selected people, but by the masses. An artwork derives its value when it is seen by people. For this, artworks have been taken out of those cult places and are now placed in museums, where they can be now appreciated by anyone. This is a kind of massification of the work of art. It no longer is a thing to be appreciated by just a select few, but now the masses can see it and interpret it according to their perceptions. This development can be traced back to the rise of the mechanical reproduction of art. With technology, you don't have to go to a whole different country to see an artwork. The days of pilgrimages are over, and now the artwork comes to you. Even what you are looking at right now is an example of this. In the older days, you would have to travel miles to see this painting, but now you can just look at it whenever you want. Now, if art can be reproduced, What then is the value of the original artwork? Surely you can look at the Mona Lisa on your phone, but does that compare to looking at the original? This raises the problem of the aura of art. Aura is the here and there of an artwork. It is the unique existence of that artwork in time and space. It is its authenticity, its uniqueness, its tradition, history, and the setting in which an artwork is placed that gives an artwork its aura. But this gets lost when it is reproduced. The original Mona Lisa or any other artwork has a certain aura to it. When you see these artworks, you think about their history, how such artworks have survived through history, and how they would have influenced those people. But this sort of aura cannot be felt when we see a copy of it. The place where these artworks was meant to be seen has changed. Now you see this on your phone, surrounded by your everyday objects. This changes how you feel about that artwork. The reproduced artworks gets detached from the tradition. Now, in the age of reproduction of art, there is no one Mona Lisa, but hundreds or even thousands of its copies now exist. The reason for this loss of aura can be traced to the increasing desire of the masses for closeness to the artwork. People want to get closer to the artwork, and you don't want to just look at a painting from a distance. Now, you can zoom in and get every little detail of it. Another reason for this can be the loss of distinction between the original and the reproduction. This loss of aura came about with the invention of photography. Though the reproduction of art is not something new, through printing and copying by hand, reproduction has existed for a long time. But photography was something different. Earlier, for things to be reproduced, they had to be drawn in some way. But photography was much more different. It was quicker, spontaneous, and in a way, much more authentic. A photograph of an artwork did something different. It felt something different from just mere copying. And when it was added with sounds, images were now transformed into films. This enabled the camera to reproduce any sort of artwork, not only painting, but theater, drama, etc. And things just progressed from that point. Now, art is everywhere. Newspapers, magazines, books, social media, it's everywhere. We have come a long way from the cult of beauty. But is this loss of aura a good thing or a sign that we have lost the real beauty in art? The answer will depend on how you see art and what you consider the role of art to be. We have lost the aura of art, but this does not mean that it's a bad thing. These developments have opened new ways of experiencing and even creating art. A camera can capture things we cannot see with our eyes. With it, we can see what things in slow motion feel like. We can zoom in and observe little details of a painting, and even see it in lights with different wavelengths, giving it a whole new different perspective to be seen in. All paintings can now be analyzed and studied to get a deeper understanding of them. With more development now, art can be experienced everywhere and can be accessed by many people who in older days would have been restricted by their place or financial situations. All this has opened up new possibilities for the new forms of creation and interpretations of art. When it has been taken from its traditional places, we can see art from a whole new perspective. These new possibilities have indeed transformed art a lot in the last century. Movements like surrealism, constructivism, Dada, and other movements have changed the meaning of art. Many new artists are now expressing their art through new and new meanings, pushing limits of what art can be and what its role can be. But recently, we have come to a new pivotal point in the reproduction of art. AI art has opened new questions on what art is and how much of its reproduction is acceptable. It is no longer the crisis that photography put forward to art. Now it's a question of humans and their relation to art. We used to think of art as distinctively a thing of human civilization, just like the authority of God was put onto an existential crisis. Now, the crisis is on human authority in art. Can there be art without humans?